President Jacob Zuma is addressing the nation at 7 tonight following the Constitutional Court ruling on Nkandla. A Durban bus driver is gunned down behind the wheel in front of horrified passengers. It's Friday. Hello and welcome to it. You're watching eNews Direct. I'm Duduzile Ramila.
And I'm Sandile Kangose. Good evening.
To comment on any of our stories, you can, of course, find us on Twitter and Facebook. That's at eNews Direct.
And tonight's hashtags are Nkandla and Tongat.
And it's our breaking news this hour. President Jacob Zuma is addressing the nation at 7 o'clock tonight. That's on his response to the Constitutional Court judgment on Nkandla. Earlier today, the top 6 leaders of the ANC held an urgent meeting to discuss the impact of the ruling. They've scheduled a media briefing at 8 p.m. to announce the outcome.
Nkandla.
There are mounting calls for the president to step down after the Constitutional Court found that he breached his oath of office and failed to uphold the Constitution.
It's a very urgent matter, and I think if the ANC must salvage its image and show leadership, it ought to tackle this problem straight away.
There can't be closure of ranks behind errant behavior by any of your members, irrespective of their standing within the party. I'm saying that you may find instances where either an individual member or a group of members actually become an albatross around the neck of a party which has got a responsibility towards the nation. And I think, indeed, it is a moment where the ANC as a party has to make hard choices.
One analyst believes there are 2 ways the ANC can interpret the judgment, either from a legal perspective or guided by political morality.
I think the onus now for voters is to decide what they do about a body of people who they justifiably ought to have no trust in any longer.
It's unclear what the outcome of the meeting will be, but what is clear is that the ANC needs to save face, and quickly, in this election year. Ngambi at Luthuli House.
Finance Minister Pravin Gordhan says his department will appoint a team to implement the Constitutional Court's ruling on Nkandla. The court has given Treasury 60 days to determine how much President Jacob Zuma is liable to pay for the non-security upgrades at his private homestead.
The Treasury will constitute a team with the necessary technical expertise and experts, including quantity surveyors and lawyers, to execute the mandate given to us by the Constitutional Court. And I can assure South Africans that the process will be transparent, thorough, and professional, and within the rules of public finance management as we've practiced as a government.
Meanwhile, the public protector is adamant the Hawks are indeed after her. Thuli Madonsela has told journalists she's been investigated for maintaining that her powers are legally binding. Yesterday, the Hawks insisted, there's no probe. However, Madonsela has a document that appears to show the unit is investigating her.
The Hawks are adamant there's no investigation against Thuli Madonsela, despite apparent evidence that says differently.
We also want to distance ourselves from such allegations. Even the 2 members or whoever from the Hawks who visited the office, we don't even know who they are.
But Madonsela maintains that the Hawks are definitely after her. She believes this letter, signed by a senior official, backs up her claims. It clearly states the probe was triggered by 2 sworn affidavits that Madonsela submitted in 2 different courts that contradict each other on the issue of her power. But Madonsela says this was simply a mistake. But the Hawks are not budging, even when confronted with the names of the senior Hawks officers who paid Madonsela a visit.
The 2 officers, I think we have them in our system. And I think it's something that we have to look at, but surely there's a lot of people who use our names. My name as well is used for for other things. People calling and claim to be me.
Madonsela says all she wants is for the probe to be dropped.
It surely can't be criminal that I express a particular view. But I still haven't heard from them a final word that says we're not going to prosecute you, despite the fact that we paid lawyers to explain the principle of Treasury.
The public protector has since filed the affidavit as requested by the Hawks. Leranzo Temba, Pretoria.
SARS Commissioner Tom Moyane has rubbished claims that he's out to get Finance Minister Pravin Gordhan. He's also strongly denied that he's President Jacob Zuma's lackey. Moyane believes his decision to restructure the tax authority led to it collecting more than 1 trillion rand for the first time in its history. It's that decision which sparked public conflict between Moyane and Gordhan.
If you believe news reports, there's no love lost between Finance Minister Pravin Gordhan and SARS Commissioner Tom Moyane. At the beginning of his term, Moyane asked auditing firm KPMG to further investigate claims of a rogue unit at SARS, a probe that led to the Hawks questioning Gordhan. In February, Gordhan reportedly slammed Moyane for persisting with the restructuring of SARS against his instructions. But this is how Gordhan has now responded to questions about their working relationship.
That's work in progress, is that we must behave like professionals, because we are professionals, and do that which is necessary in the national interest, because for me and for my colleagues, that's an absolute priority at the moment.
In an exclusive interview, Moyane has stressed he has nothing against the finance minister, and he's denied suggestions that he is a lackey of President Jacob Zuma.
And I want to make it very clear here. I am not lackey to anybody. I'm a man of my own. I'm not owned by anyone.
Are you part of a plot to unseat the finance minister through criminal charges?
Why? Let me ask that rhetorical question. Why? I'm asking you. I was appointed to become the Commissioner of the South African Revenue Service, whose mandate is collection of revenue.
Moyane says he hopes SARS' record-breaking revenue collection will prove that his decision to restructure the tax authority was the correct one. Karen Moore, Johannesburg.
Let's focus on to other news now, and an early morning bus trip in Durban has turned into a horror ride for about 30 passengers. The driver was shot dead behind the wheel in full view of commuters, allegedly by a fellow passenger. Police are still searching for that suspect.
This was the disturbing end to an early morning work commute. The bus driver murdered and passengers left in shock. But there are conflicting reports as to how this came to be. Police say 3 men flagged down the bus on this road and demanded money from the driver before shooting him in the head. But passengers are telling a different story.
We were praying and we had our eyes closed. We don't know who did it, but some passengers say he was in the bus.
The shooter fled and police say nothing was stolen. With the bus hanging dangerously over the edge of an embankment, passengers were panicking.
There was chaos. People didn't know how to get off the bus. Then the bus started moving by itself. We didn't realize it was out of control. It hit the fence near Westbrook. Luckily, something prevented it from going over the edge.
Paramedics transported several passengers to hospital for minor injuries. No arrests have been made. Desan Tathia, Tongaat, Durban.
A quick look at world news now, and a CCTV camera has captured the moment a flyover under construction collapsed in India, killing at least 23 people. More than 100 survivors have been pulled from the rubble. The project missed several deadlines for completion after work started in 2009. 7 police officers have been killed in a car bombing in the Turkish city of Diyarbakir. At least 27 other people were wounded in the explosion near a bus terminal. The bomb was detonated as a special forces armored bus passed through the mainly Kurdish city. And protests have erupted throughout Brazil in defense of beleaguered President Dilma Rousseff. She's accused of manipulating government accounts to win re-election in 2014. The lower house of Congress is due to vote in mid-April on whether she should be impeached. However, her supporters say without proof of a crime, impeachment is unconstitutional.
Meanwhile, Duduzile is standing by with today's social media.
Indeed, thank you so much, Sandile. And a few days ago, we brought you a story about the disappearance of outsourcing must fall activist Vusi Mahlangu. Well, the Workers' International Vanguard lead says Vusi has been found unharmed by a private investigator. It has also thanked thousands of activists and ordinary members of the public who pledged their support. And moving on, today being the 1st of April, social media was flooded with pranks, including President Jacob Zuma's resignation. But one that caught people's attention was about Drinkopop introducing 3 new flavors: brandy and cola, vodka and apple sour, as well as whiskey and ginger beer. Remember, you can have a say on any of our stories. You can find us on Twitter and Facebook, of course, that's at eNews Direct, or head on over to our website, that's eNCA.com/direct. Do stay with us. After the break, we've got your business news as well as your detailed weekend weather forecast. Welcome back. Money matters now, and high steel prices and tough economic conditions have hurt new vehicle sales. The number of cars sold in March dropped 14% compared to a year ago. 47,631 vehicles were sold last month, with exports falling 18.5%. Consumers remain under pressure, with interest rates going up 75 basis points this year to date. The expected rise in the fuel price will put more pressure on car sales. Despite the rand's weakness, exports have begun slowing down, with international demand falling. Let's see how the markets performed today. Let's check in with the Weather Centre now. Here's Candice.
Another cold front moves in over the southwestern part of South Africa on Friday night, bringing in rainfall overnight and into the early hours of Saturday morning. We're still expecting some drizzle over parts of the Eastern Cape, with rain and cooler weather for KwaZulu-Natal. That moisture reaches the northeastern escarpment on Saturday night, bringing in some fog and drizzle with it. It'll be another partly cloudy and hot day over the northeastern parts, with a sunny and warm forecast as we head further west. Rain is forecast for much of KwaZulu-Natal with a cooler day, and as that cool air pushes in from the east, it cools off Pietermaritzburg to 22 degrees, but you'll see high temperatures remain warm for Ladysmith and Newcastle, both in the low 30s. A slightly cooler day throughout the Eastern Cape, with drizzle extending through to Elliot and Umtata. Sunny and warm for Graaff-Reinet and Somerset East, both at 25, with some cloud along the coast. Highs head into the low and middle 20s for the Western Cape on Saturday, with some drizzle for Hermanus and Bredasdorp, as well as early morning light rain for Cape Town. But overall, we're expecting a partly cloudy and mild Saturday with a high of 21 degrees. Sunny as we head towards the Northern Cape, 27 for Kimberley and Passersburg. We keep in the upper 20s over the eastern part of the Free State, but mid-20s with a sunny forecast over the western and southern parts. Very little change in the weather for the northwest, with highs in the low 30s and a partly cloudy and dry Saturday in store. 33 degrees for Polokwane, Mokopane and Zanin. 38 as we head towards Phalaborwa. We're expecting some fog along the escarpment, with drizzle for Bombela and Mkhandla on Saturday evening. A high of around 30 for eMalahleni, Standerton and Secunda. You'll also see a high of around 30 for Gauteng, with a partly cloudy and dry Saturday. 33 as we head towards Pretoria. On Sunday, we're forecasting sunny and warm weather over the western parts, with the possibility of rainfall over the eastern part of South Africa. Thundershowers are expected over parts of Limpopo and the northwest, with cooler weather over the northeastern parts as we head into Monday. You'll see thundershowers extending from the Northern Cape all the way through to the east coast, with a hot day along the Eastern Cape and KwaZulu-Natal coastline. That's all from the Weather Centre for now. Have a lovely weekend.
Thank you, Candace. After the break, politicians become fodder for pranksters on April Fool's Day. So it's been a busy week for South Africans politically speaking. The Constitutional Court has effectively wrapped the president over the knuckles for failing to uphold the Constitution.
And while the ANC figures out how best to deal with the fallout, the president's shenanigans have been fodder for pranksters, especially on April Fool's Day.
It's been one long news week for South Africans, but we can always rely on our favorite Danny for some light relief.
Ik kan nu praten. Comrade Jacob Zuma hereby announces his immediate resignation as President of the Republic of South Africa, as well as President of the African National Congress, not necessarily in that order.
But Daniel Vita was not the only prankster on the 1st of April. Premier Helen Zille had a trick up her sleeve as well. Western Cape Cabinet ministers to use remote controls for traffic lights. The local ministers had complained the traffic was making them late for meetings. Prankster Zille suggested remote controls to change the traffic lights from red to green. The public has been urged to approach every traffic light with caution, as they may change at any stage if a minister is approaching. Even well-known US talk show host Jimmy Kimmel couldn't resist.
9 months ago, I announced my candidacy for president. No matter how insane I got, millions of you showed up to support me. Me, the guy who hosted The Apprentice. April Fool's America.
But in all likelihood, Donald Trump will still be around on the 2nd of April. Malunge Rupoi, Johannesburg.
A reminder of our breaking news story. President Jacob Zuma is addressing the nation shortly on his response to the Constitutional Court judgment on Nkandla. And that's all we have for you for today.
It is indeed. Until next time, good night.